Tonight, vaccinated and still infected.
Breakthrough infections are concerning.
But those opting out of the vaccine face the biggest threat.
This is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
The latest on the COVID crisis in the United States and investigating the insurrection.
I don't care if you think I'm Satan reincarnated. You can't look at that television and say nothing happened on the 6th.
The ongoing showdown over the January 6th Congressional Committee. Plus, why some worry a federal law is making transracial adoptions more difficult.
You want to learn more, so that's kind of a natural thing. You don't need an agency to force you into this.
And the pushback against that argument. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. A pandemic-weary country faces COVID's rising tide. Good evening and welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup. Well, Americans coast to coast are contracting COVID-19 at rates not seen in months. The highly contagious Delta variant behind most of the new infections. Senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon joins us with tonight's top story. Jennifer, where do things stand right now?
Well, John, the average number of daily new cases is up by more than 50% over last week. So now the new question is whether or not this new surge is going to bring about another round of mask mandates.
The Delta variant is spreading with incredible efficiency.
New cases are rising in 46 states. Among the hardest hit, Florida.
We're almost completely full of COVID patients and running out of space.
James Scott Owen, a 41-year-old Floridian, is recovering from major symptoms.
I'm having to remind myself to kind of learn to breathe.
Like Owen, 97% of people being hospitalized for COVID-19 are not vaccinated.
We have a pandemic for those who haven't gotten a vaccination.
Clinical trials show the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines 95% effective at preventing serious illness and death. They're also shown to protect against the Delta variant. And while there are breakthrough infections of people who've been vaccinated, in the majority of cases, symptoms are mild.
I'm very thankful we got it. Thinking about how bad it could have been if we had not had this boost in our immune system. We could have ended up in the hospital.
Members of the Republican Doctors Caucus urged Americans not yet vaccinated to discuss it with their doctor. They're also calling on Democratic leaders to get serious about investigating the origins of COVID-19, as growing evidence points to China's Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Criminals have been convicted on less circumstantial evidence.
These doctors say there's a national security and public health mandate to get to the bottom of what happened to prevent future deadly leaks.
What does Speaker Pelosi have to hide? Why is Speaker Pelosi actively fighting to get the facts out, fighting against it? Why is she trying to do the work of the Chinese Communist Party?
And as to what we can expect on masks, well, the top doctor at the CDC says for now, they continue to encourage people who've not been vaccinated to wear their masks, but they say they are continually assessing the data. John, White House officials say they will follow the science wherever it takes them.
Jennifer, former Trump Surgeon General Jerome Adams is calling on the CDC to hit the reset button, if you will, and reinstate mask mandates. Jennifer, does the Biden administration feel the pressure to make that kind of move?
They are absolutely feeling the pressure, John. I mean, you know, just this summer or in the spring, we saw this huge push to vaccinate Americans. And then around the 4th of July, we heard the president kind of doing a bit of a victory lap and saying, you know, we can relax. We're out of the thick of this. And now, you know, daily, the White House is seeing these numbers tick up. And so they're absolutely feeling the pressure. I think Dr. Jerome Adams is also pointing out something the Trump administration knows all too well, and that is the Biden administration is learning all the things we don't know about this coronavirus, the way it's going to mutate itself, the way the vaccines in this country are going to react to what we could see in the future. There's just still so many unknowns despite the progress we've made. And so I think that's what we're seeing the Biden administration grappling with right now. I think Dr. Jerome Adams said that science is like riding the plane while you're building the plane. And so I think that's the Biden administration feels that today.
A really good analogy. Jennifer, in the end of your report, you were mentioning how some Republicans say Democrats are preventing the investigation into the lab leak theory over the origins of COVID-19. Can you explain the hesitancy to investigate? We only have about 30 seconds left.
Sure. Well, I think, for Speaker Pelosi and other Democrats on Capitol Hill, if they rewind a year and a half ago, it was President Trump and members of his administration who were saying that evidence was pointing to that this virus originating at the Wuhan lab. And his critics used that to call him an imbecile, a racist, all kinds of things. So for them to go down this road and follow this evidence, looks like it's very likely that it came from this lab. That would be giving President Trump too much credit, and they just don't want to go there.
All right, senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon. Jennifer, thanks for your reporting.
Thanks, John.
Well, to COVID's impact on the economy, unemployment applications rose last week, hitting the highest levels since back in May. Today's Labor Department report shows 419,000 applied for new jobless benefits last week. That's up from 368,000 the week prior. Some good news on the unemployment front, though. Continuing claims did hit a pandemic low, a new low, just shy of 3.25 million, down drastically from the high seen in March of last year of more than 22 million. While the Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol attack holds its first hearing next Tuesday. It is still unclear, though, whether Republican-appointed lawmakers will be a part of the bipartisan investigation after Speaker Nancy Pelosi booted 2 of Kevin McCarthy's GOP picks. Now, that prompted the minority leader to pull all 5 of his members. Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson reports on what comes next.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she wants the investigation to be nonpartisan, but the fight over who will be on the committee is one of the most contentious partisan battles in Washington this week.
It is my responsibility as Speaker of the House to make sure we get to the truth on this, and we will not let their antics stand in the way.
While 3 of the Republican appointees voted to block the certification of President Joe Biden's win after the insurrection, Pelosi only rejected 2, Representatives Jim Jordan and Jim Banks.
They have made statements and taken actions that I think would impact the integrity of the committee.
Republicans call her actions unprecedented.
They just want to continue to attack the former president. They want to play their political games.
McCarthy's threatening to launch his own investigation if Jordan and Banks are not added.
It's an egregious abuse of power. Unless Speaker Pelosi reverses course and seats all 5 Republicans, we will not participate.
As of now, Congresswoman Liz Cheney, appointed by Pelosi, will be the sole GOP member.
At every opportunity, the minority leader has attempted to prevent the American people from understanding what happened, to block this investigation.
Republicans say the big question is why wasn't there proper security at the Capitol that day? While Democrats argue Republicans are nervous to investigate what led to the attack. Reporting from Virginia, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Abigail. Chief Political Analyst David Brody is here now for more. David, Speaker Pelosi hasn't ruled out a couple more anti-Trump Republicans to the Select Committee, like Congressman Adam Kinzinger and former Congressman Denver Riggleman. David, if Speaker Pelosi says she wants the committee to be without bipartisanship, is this a case where actions speak louder than words by nixing pro-Trump Republicans while entertaining anti-Trump Republicans?
John, absolutely. The actions do speak louder than words, and the actions are political. I mean, it's just that simple. Look, if you say you want a nonpartisan committee and then commit a partisan act, how is it nonpartisan? It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But, look, I think if you think about this for a moment, in a way, this was an in-kind donation by Nancy Pelosi to the Republican Party for 2022. I mean, this is going to come back once again to hurt Democrats, and not because people think about the daily back and forth between Republicans and Democrats, but this is a way for Republicans now to easily paint January 6th as a partisan battle when it doesn't have to be that way. It never had to be that way. Everybody would agree that what happened on January 6th was horrible. That's bipartisan, but the politics has gotten way ahead on both sides, and in this case, Nancy Pelosi clearly overstepped, and I think Democrats are going to be hurting in 2022 because of it.
David, interestingly, Republican Congresswoman Jamie Herrera Butler of Washington State, who voted to impeach former President Trump back in February. She suggests that select committees are too politically charged to get to the truth. We know that we've had the Committee on Global Warming, Select Committee on Benghazi, and now this one. Your thoughts?
Well, they are. She's absolutely right. And, part of the problem is that, the Democrats will say, well, we wanted a commission, an independent commission to investigate it. But we also know the independent commission was going to be tainted as well, and it was going to be a problem. So, look, in Washington, politics, they go hand in hand, and the partisanship is there. We're in a very ugly time in America. There's a lot of prayer that is needed on both sides of the aisle to figure out how to come together to break the logjam. But this is, I truly believe it's a spiritual battle. I don't think, I know people see it in political terms, but I think it's spiritual in nature.
Definitely agree with you that the spiritual and prayers are definitely much needed. Real quickly, in about 15 seconds, what can we expect with next week's hearing?
It's going to be partisan. I mean, you might as well just mail it in. It's going to be Democrats bashing Trump and bashing, Republicans, and they want to get to the bottom of what happened with Kevin McCarthy and Donald Trump, but Republicans say, wait a minute, what happened about the police force there? They're wondering about that. So it's going to be partisan.
Well, we will be watching, and we'll have you to help us navigate our way through. CBN Chief Political Analyst David Brody, thank you so much.
Thanks, Sean.
Coming up, children waiting to be adopted. Why some say political correctness is putting their chances of finding a forever home in jeopardy.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch. Thanks for joining us. Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
SUPERBOOK fans, here's something else you'll love. It's the new SUPERBOOK Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and SUPERBOOK episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own SUPERBOOK character. Ta-da! Whoa!
The Millsburg Falls man come with...
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new SUPERBOOK Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Welcome back. No surprises here. Americans' attitudes about race relations are on the decline. 20 years ago, 70% of adults rated black-white relations as good. But today, on the heels of highly publicized killings of unarmed black people, that number hovers at 42%, while 57% say race relations are bad. The recent Gallup survey also shows whites are more likely than black Americans to hold an optimistic view by 10 percentage points. Still, 57% of those surveyed say they believe race relations will improve in the future. So what role does race play in adoptions? Currently none by U.S. law, but one leading adoption agency is advocating for it to be a factor when placing children with parents. CBN's Caitlin Burke reports on what's at stake and why some say it could backfire against kids in need.
There's a federal law on the books that prohibits race from being a factor in an adoption. The Multi-Ethnic Placement Act, or MIPA, is intended to remove barriers to adopting children of color. Now, one major evangelical adoption agency wants the law changed.
Bethany Christian Services says the law limits proper education of parents before a transracial adoption.
That's because under the law, all adoptions must be treated the same, whether white parents are adopting white children or children of color. Following the death of George Floyd, there was an outcry from Bethany families who wanted help talking about race with their children. For now, parents who want more resources can attend optional trainings put on by Bethany or outside organizations like Be the Bridge.
From the very beginning, from jump, a white parent should have the tools and they should have the language and the understanding about how to help a child of color grow into a healthy racial identity, grow into a healthy sense of who God made them to be in all God made them to be.
Tiffany Hennis helps provide transracial adoption training at Be the Bridge. She's also Asian American and was adopted by a white family.
What really strikes me when I think back over my life is that my parents tried to encourage me to have a positive identity, but they didn't know some of the things that were in the environment around us that was teaching me to hate the Chinese or Asian part of myself, because that's what made me different. That's what made me different from my family.
Hennis says that while her family did their best, she feels their colorblind philosophy was short-sighted.
I could not educate them at 4 years old or 8 years old or 16 years old. I only knew I only knew so much. So if my parents had had some training, if they had had relationships with Asian Americans who were helping them understand the context of some of the comments or the jokes they would have been able to be proactive as parents to help guide me through those things.
Still, not everyone in the adoption community agrees this kind of special training should be required.
You want to learn more, so that's kind of a natural thing. You don't need an agency to force you into this. This is it's the natural curiosity because you want to know how best to parent that child.
Ryan Baumberger, co-founder of the Radiance Foundation, was also raised in a transracial home. Adopted in 1971, his parents defied restrictions about Black children being placed with white families.
They understood that they were called to love, first and foremost. They didn't set out to adopt a Black child, a Vietnamese child, a Native American. They just wanted to adopt those that the world said would be unwanted and unloved.
Statistically, there are more Black children languishing in foster care than there are Black families volunteering to adopt them. Baumberger is concerned Bethany's desire to not only consider race in adoption, but also assess prospective parents will act as a barrier to white families, which he says could make it nearly impossible for them to adopt children of color.
I have a lot of parents who've come up to me in all the events that the Radiance Foundation does across the country, and they have been dissuaded from adopting simply because they're white or because they don't have a certain quota of Black friends or a certain quota of Asian friends. And that, to me, is really destructive.
Other critics claim Bethany is bowing to the woke movement, being influenced by critical race theory, and shifting towards the left. In a statement to CBN News, Bethany said it will continue to celebrate transracial adoptions and that what they're trying to do is, quote, equip families who are adopting transracially to understand their adoptive children and support them as they develop a sense of who they are. Hennis says she's focused on those who want to listen and learn because she knows all too well what's at stake.
You can discredit or not listen or whatever because it's a woke movement thing, but I'm a person who is trying to understand who God made me to be and how come I experience the world this way and what my place is here. And that's really what it comes down to.
Bethany is calling for all U.S. child welfare policies to be updated to ensure all children in the system reach an equal outcome. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Great reporting, Caitlin. Thank you. Impressive piano skills with passion shining through. How one airport musician gained viral attention and attracted the generosity of strangers when Faith Nation returns.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world-class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians are
Christians in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Saturday night at 6 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Welcome back. You're going to love this story. An airport musician got a big surprise after an Instagram post put his piano playing skills and his clear love of it in the spotlight. Tony was playing in the Atlanta airport when he caught the attention of author and speaker Carlos Whitaker. After noticing an empty tip jar, Whitaker turned to his Instagram followers, who showed up in a big way.
They just deposited $10,000. They? 170,000 strangers that loved your piano playing, and I asked them to give you money, and in 35 minutes, because you're a great human being and you're changing people's lives when you do this.
And the man who created that viral moment joins us now. Carlos Whitaker, thanks for being here, and what a great act of kindness. Carlos, as I understand, tips have continued to flood your Venmo with donations. What's the total up to now?
We're a little over $60,000 for Tony.
Wow. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, before you explain the situation, Tony told you he pretty much lost faith in humanity. You talked to him since. How has that changed?
You know what? I've talked to him a lot since. And this morning, he texted me and he said, Carlos, I didn't sleep all night. I'm in dialysis all night. And he said, normally I sleep great. I didn't sleep because my mind kept racing. And I am convinced now that humanity still is good and that people are still good. So I'm seeing it change Tony's heart. And because it's changing Tony's heart, it changes his family's heart. It changes his family's heart, their friend's heart, and it's just starting to spread, and hope is starting to spread, and that's what I'm desperate to see happen again.
I like it. You're a hope dealer. Why do you think it is that this simple, random act of kindness took hold of so many people, effectively changing Tony's life?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question. I really feel like people are desperate to root for something together again. We've been so divided for so long over everything. And finally, people just saw an opportunity. I didn't ask Tony what he believed about this issue or that issue. I just said, I want to help you because you seem like a great guy. And so people rallied behind it. And, you know, it's just people love to feel good. There's actually psychology that shows that giving, when you give somebody something that affects them, it actually boosts your serotonin levels. So there's psychology that shows us that when we give, it is definitely better to give than to receive.
Carlos, I also want to ask you about this. What lessons can we learn about the ability to create extraordinary moments like this? After all, you were just sitting at an airport. What moments are we potentially missing?
We are missing so many moments. And the reason why, this is why I believe we're missing so many moments, is when we see a moment in front of us that there's a potential that we can create some good, there's an opportunity for us to be embarrassed. There's an opportunity for us to be rejected. And that embarrassment and rejection ultimately will keep us from doing these good things. But I tell people all the time, you must risk in order to rescue. If there's going to be a rescue in a moment, you've got to risk something. It's being uncomfortable, it's being embarrassed, whatever it may be. And it doesn't have to be a $50,000 or $60,000 tip.
It can be something as easy as walking by somebody. I was on the plane the other day, and a woman walked by me, and I said, "Those are the most beautiful pearls I've seen all day long." She was an old lady, and she almost pulled me out of my seat and looked at me and said, "Thank you so much. My husband gave me these pearls. He's since passed away, and I just want to thank you for noticing." That's all I said, but you could see it change her countenance and her day changed. And so I'm telling you, we have the ability to affect so many people by our kindness.
I love it. And, you know, the thing that I think mostly spoke to me was the fact that you weren't buried in your phone. You took the opportunity just to look up and hear the person who was playing music. So, Carlos Whitaker, what an extraordinary moment. Keep passing it along. And we appreciate you being here with us today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, ride gone wrong. How one teenager got an unexpected surprise during a sky-high thrill ride.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link. Tuesday morning at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Finally tonight, we've all been there with the kids or with the friends at an amusement park ride, but few are familiar with the feeling of getting smacked in the face on the flight path of an oncoming bird. For 13-year-old Kylie Hallman, a day on the Jersey Shore left her with that exact story and a few minor scratches. Kylie was riding a slingshot, launching her into the air at 75 miles an hour when she had a very close encounter with a seagull. Some might say a little too close, but not the teen. An animal lover herself, she says as soon as it happened, she couldn't wait to go back and watch the video, and she'll have a story to tell the kids and grandkids. Well, that's going to do it for Faith Nation. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.